your comadre Maria.
And I am your comadre Lucia.
And this is Comadres Adulting.
All right, welcome everyone. This is episode 1 of Comadres Adulting Introduction.
So tell us, Lucy,
Yes, Maria.
who are you?
Who am I? That's a good question. So, my name is Lucia. I am a middle school science teacher and I identify as Mexican American. What about you, Maria?
My name is Maria, and I am a high school counselor, and I identify as Salvadorian American, and I grew up in South Central LA.
Cool. Awesome. So, you say you grew up in South Central LA and were you born also in LA?
Yes, so I was born in Martin Luther King Jr. Hospital, super specific, and yeah, so the intersection of like Manchester and Avalon. I actually grew up, I think my first like 5 years or so, I used to live in East LA, and then my parents moved into South LA.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always thought you lived in South LA. So, I was born in, I don't remember the name of the hospital, but it's like the hospital in the back of Children's Hospital in LA.
Okay. Yeah.
Presbyterian, I think.
Mhm.
And my parents are from Mexico. Like I said, I'm Mexican American. All my life, I grew up in Manchester and Figueroa intersection. So I grew up watching a lot of prostitution, and that's like the memories I have a lot from growing up there. So if you're like in the Figueroa intersection in South Central, like you probably know.
And
What's up?
so it's funny that you bring that up because I actually, most of my life, I grew up in the projects, Avalon Gardens. That's actually where I do the counseling work that I do now. So you see things that you shouldn't. But I also realized that I was very sheltered compared to other folks or other children living in the same area that I was. Okay, and then do you want to tell us a little bit about your trajectory? Maybe where you went to elementary, middle school, or if you want to start with high school.
Yeah, so I think like this is why we're friends and roommates. We met in high school, so we went to the same high school, but Manchester Elementary, for those of you who are from South Central, Bethune Middle School, Fremont High School, and education was just super important since like my parents only had elementary school education, so they were like, you need to go to school to be what we don't care, just education is going to be like why we came to this country. And I think that was like the reason why I just ended up falling in love with education. That was partial. And I think like the whole point of this podcast, we're going to get in there in a second. But that's my trajectory. And eventually did really good in high school, went to Wellesley College in Massachusetts, all women's college, full ride. And, when you don't have money, you're just like, I'm going to take the best option.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I actually started off in Head Start. I don't know if you went to Head Start.
Yes, I did.
So I went to the Head Start.
Which one?
So actually, it's inside of Avalon Gardens. So it was literally like a 1-minute walk to school. Each public housing site has their own website. I think right now they're like, it's Children's Institute. That's what they know it. Back in the day it was Head Start. And then I went to South Park Elementary School. Believe it or not, I got suspended first grade. I can tell y'all the story later on. So little Maria got suspended. And then from that, I think I got like this bad reputation at the school that I was sort of like a troublemaker. So my parents decided to move me from South Park to 93rd Street School.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know where that is.
And then middle school, I went to Charles Drew. And high school, I went to Fremont.
Okay.
In high school, Lucy and I met in academic decathlon. That's where those are basically most of our friends that we keep in contact with from high school.
Or AP classes, yeah.
Yeah. And then I after high school, I went to Smith College, which is also an all-women's college in Northampton, Massachusetts. Finished in 4 years, came back and hit the ground running as a counselor. So tell us, Lucy, what is Comadres Adulting about specifically?
Thank you for asking, Maria. So Comadres Adulting is basically a podcast for other brown women, brown mujeres, to relate to our stories, as we are 2 brown women adulting in the U.S. while trying to keep, strong cultural roots but at the same time embrace our own identity.
So some of the topics that we'll be exploring this season, we'll be talking about a little bit about our college experience, right? So we shared with you about attending women's colleges, but those colleges were also predominantly white institutions.
Yep. Why don't we do like a drum roll like every time? It's like something we have to unpack.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna do it. So TWI, we gotta unpack that.
Also, we will be sharing a little bit more about our struggles and academic stories.
Drum roll for that too.
Some of our other topics that we would want to touch about is what does it mean to grow up poor, right? And at what moment in our lives do we realize that we grew up poor? So we'll be discussing that. We'll also be discussing fitness and health and our money mistakes. As soon as we graduated college, Lucia and I were very blessed and grateful to go into full-time jobs, but at the same time, we made a lot of money mistakes, and we'll be touching on those things.
Can you imagine how much money have you like thrown to the trash?
Yeah.
So other topics we would like to talk about are undervalued immigrants. So how grateful we are for our parents, both of our parents or all of our parents are immigrants, and just like that story and how we have seen it, like the immigrant community in our community like struggle in their struggles. And moving out, we're currently roommates, and we moved out from our parents' homes, and that was like a huge step. And definitely like shit we can do on our own. So there's a lot of times we call our moms, we call our dads, especially our dads, when it comes to car maintenance, to come and fix our cars. So that's something, we're trying to adult, but like it's so hard when you're babied.
Yeah. I know that like my dad came out and helped, and your uncle came down and helped us out move. Other things that we will be talking about: jobs. So elaborating a little bit more on our professions and careers, what we do. Why did we decide to go into those fields, and possibly our potential future goals? Also, how do we go about choosing colleges, right? When we created the list,
definitely was based on financial aid for me.
Financial aid, right? And also being really honest about the importance of college access programs, because they played a huge role in that decision in the list creation.
And how lucky we were. I mean, I think one thing we're eventually going to talk about is just how the reason why we met, or another reason why we got close, was because one voice, it was a program who scouted us in high school. And from like 600 high school kids, they only chose like 3 of us. So we were lucky enough to have a program that like showed us and told us and made us apply to liberal arts colleges. We would have never applied to out-of-state colleges, and definitely we would have just probably stayed at the UC system, which is a beautiful system. Don't get me wrong, like that's what we always aspired to be, but definitely like we would have never like decided to leave our homes.
And, gotten out of our comfort zone for that. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, and specifically exploring women colleges. The next topic that we will be touching about, or 2 topics are very related. One of them is therapy. Lucy and I also share the same psychologist or therapist.
We really do.
We have this joke that we're not going to disclose her name, obviously, but how we're going to just like do an artwork of her face and just paste it somewhere in our house.
Put a Saint halo around her.
Yeah.
She just has so much wisdom.
And we'll just put a quote on top that says, in this house, so-and-so rules. Another topic that I am working on at this right moment, healing.
Yes. I think, I forgot to do the drum roll, but every single topic here is like we have to unpack, but at the same time has causes or like has forces to heal. And I think there's like something that we just have never done for a long time. And I think that's because, when you're in the Latino community, like talking to a therapist is like wrong, and like you should be ashamed, and like what's wrong with you, and like there's just I think you said a really good thing right now. You said healing is something I'm doing now, but I think just recognizing that healing is like a forever thing.
Right. Yeah. And we would talk about healing our inner child, or healing from relationships, healing from relationships with our parents, with our families, right? All of that. Our other topics that we would be talking about are boys, both in high school and college.
Yes.
And after.
Oh.
And then we would also be talking about our bad habits, right? But are also the good habits, and what are we doing to sort of turn them around. So we would be sharing with you our methods. I use a passion planner. Lucy introduced me a really good book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Completely life-changing book. I totally recommend.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on, we're also going to be talking about sex and sexuality, and like just the homophobia that exists in our communities. Financial aid, just like we said, our college experience and choosing colleges. So financial aid, we're just going to go and dig a little deeper. And I think it would be nice to like have other people come in and like tell us about their financial aid, because I think we were in a very specific and grateful and blessed place where our colleges gave us a lot of money, but that's not the case for a lot of people. Definitely. I don't know if you want to say something else.
For that, I do know a lot about financial aid because I'm a counselor, so also feel free to like input any of your questions.
College experience part 2, I think there's like a part 2, and want to talk about studying abroad. I study abroad. I loved it. I think like the reason why I did not like dropped out of college was because I just had to go that junior year. I'm gonna go study abroad, and I just have my best life there. I can tell you so many stories.
Also, we're going to be talking about our close relationships with our professors. So one of the benefits of attending a liberal arts college, professors, like there are almost no TAs actually. It's just tutors and the professors, and they're very accessible. And then we will also be discussing the book All About Love by Bell Hooks. So we'll reserve an episode for that, just to talk about like the main concepts that we would want to elaborate.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoy our introduction and join us next time with our episode on college experience. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
If you have any questions, comments, or want to share your experience, please do so by emailing us at comadresadulting@gmail.com. I am your comadre Maria.
And I am your comadre Lucia.
And this was Comadres Adulting.